Hello, welcome to LightPoint and our webinar on how to update the AireBridge units. During this webinar, we're going to discuss the different ways that you can update the AireBridge product line. And when I say AireBridge, I'm referring to the AireBridge SX, AireBridge SX wide beam, and the AireBridge LX, our multi-beam system. So the AireBridge units have the ability to update or reload the software. This can be done because we've had a software update or change. Possibly there's been some sort of problem with the unit and the software has become corrupted and we need to go ahead and reload the software. So the first thing we're going to look at is how to do it through the web interface. And then the second way we're going to look at doing it is through the serial interface, which is kind of the rescue way of doing it. So if we have a general update or upgrade to the software, the firmware, or the content, the first and best way to do it is through the web interface. If for some reason that fails or crashes or the software crashes, we can also do it through the serial interface. So I'm going to show you both ways. Of course, with the new AireBridge units, if you've already purchased the unit, you know that the unit is available in a base model of 250 megabits for full duplex. And you can then upgrade that bandwidth to 500 megabits full duplex or 1 gigabit. Also, if you've purchased the unit and you did not get the HireBridge option and you now need to get the HireBridge option, you can purchase that. And again, we can do that update and upgrade through two different ways. One is through Telnet, and then the other one is through the serial interface. So again, I'll go through both of those today. So let's start with the software and firmware. So you can go onto your AireBridge unit and you can see what your current software is. So if you have one of the most recent versions of the AireBridge product, you'll see that it is running an image file, which we typically refer to as 50.03.bin, and you can see that here. It's CIU underscore v3.50.03 underscore capital B dot bin, and then we have the content file, which is kind of the web interface, the HTTP aspect of it. And that is the CIU underscore 169s.con file. Below that you can see the next step, which is the download upload, where you would enter information, and then finally the place where you'd load your TFTP address for your TFTP server. So one of the most important things you're going to need is a TFTP server. So we recommend, or have used, I don't know if recommend is the right word, but we do use the TFTP 64 for our 64-bit machines, which at this point all the machines in the LightPoint offices are 64-bit machines. And it comes from this organization, ph.jonin, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. Anyways, you can go to the website for TFTP D64, and you'll see there's options. There's options for a 32-bit version and a 64-bit version. Please make sure you download the correct version for the machine that you're going to be loading it onto. So once you've loaded it, you can go ahead and launch it, and by the image that you see down here at the bottom, this is what it looks like. So the next thing you want to do is, when you want to do this upgrade, you're going to contact LightPoint, and LightPoint is going to send you the appropriate files for your machine for the appropriate upgrade. Or if you have, for some reason, crashed the software, we will send you the appropriate software files for the machine that you have during the original loading of it. You want to take those files and you want to save them on your machine, at which time you want to come into the current directory and you want to choose the location on your laptop or PC where you've saved those files. The next thing you want to do is make sure that your wireless is off on your laptop or PC, and you want to make sure that the server interface is the IP address of your laptop or PC. In this case, my PC is got an IP address of 192.168.1.159, and I have stored my files, my bin and my content file, under the TFTP D64 file. So that's where they're located. So once you've got that set up, which is kind of the basis for the TFTP server, you then want to go back into the software and make sure that the TFTP IP address that you have in the Air Manager software is the same as the TFTP server IP address, which is also the same as your machine. So both of these IP addresses should be the same, and both should be the IP address of your laptop or PC. So the next thing you need to know is which file are you going to load first. Maybe you only need to load one or the other. Again, the content file, if it's been corrupted, you would only need to do the content file. So once you have figured out which file you want, either the .con or the .bin file, you're going to type that file name exactly as it is stored in your TFTP server. If it is the .con, then in the command you're going to use the drop down and choose download content. If you are loading the bin file or the image file, that's when you're going to choose download image, and your file name should be the .bin file. Once you've got those correct, you're going to go ahead and press and click on the apply button, which is then going to give you a pop-up which says, are you sure you want to do this? At which time you're going to say OK. And when you do that, you're going to see the progress start to move, and the status is going to say downloading, and it's going to take somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes to complete the process. So please be patient, and please wait for the software to tell you that the process has been completed, and then it'll end with download complete. Now, if you need to load the second software, so you could download the bin first, now you're going to download the con or vice versa, you would then go ahead and do that at this time. When all is completed, you're going to want to go ahead and reboot the system. And that can be done under the system icon and then reset the unit. Now the other way to do this is through our serial interface. Now every system gets shipped with a RJ12 male-to-male cable along with a light point specific pinout on an RJ12 to COM converter. Now, depending on the machine that you're going to be connecting to, it may or may not have a COM port on it. Assuming it does not, you will probably need to look for a COM to USB converter. They're fairly inexpensive. They can be gotten from Newegg. Any of your computer suppliers will be able to provide you with a COM to USB converter. You're going to again need the TFTP server. That part is not going to change. But then you're going to need a terminal or serial program. In the old XP world, you could use Hyperterminal. Once you start getting into like Windows 7, you no longer have Hyperterminal included. So I personally like TerraTerm, and I know a lot of other people like PuTTY. So both, all three of these will work, or if you have another terminal or serial program you prefer, that's fine also. Really your choice. Now I'm not going to read through all these steps, but there are some critical aspects to the serial interface. And the first thing that's important is that you need to set the baud rate at 19200. And you can see that in step number 2. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to want to connect the Ethernet cable from the input on the PoE injector into your laptop or your PC. So at this point your PC is going to have two cables going into it. One is going to be the Ethernet cable connected to the PoE injector, and the other is going to be the serial COM to USB going into your laptop also. At this point you're going to want to go ahead and power cycle the unit, and just as you're about to do this you need to be ready because you need to halt the process. Okay, which means you need to press the enter key during the boot sequence. Now here's where I typed out all of the steps you need to go through. I'm not going to read these, but I'm going to go ahead and explain them in the next set of slides. So with the hyperterminal, this happens to be hyperterminal, with hyperterminal stopped, you're going to go through and step through the various options that it provides you. So the first thing you can do, and let's see if I can go ahead and show you this here, where it says, press any key to halt the boot sequence. So you've stopped the boot sequence, and then you need to enter the CLI password. Now this may have been changed during the installation, but the default password out of the box, if it has not been changed, will be LightPoint. And you can see that's with a capital L and a capital P. The next thing you want to do is just step through these. We don't want to change any of these configurations. So you can see where it says to change the password. We're not going to do that. We're not going to change to DHCP. We're not changing. So as you go through these, don't press the space key. You have to just press enter. When you get to the next step, it says modify the above or continue. You want to continue. Make sure you do not change the SNMP get community or the SNMP set community. Now here you do want to make sure that you've typed in the TFTP server address. Again, in my case, it's currently 159, as you saw in the other slides. You want to make sure that TFTP server IP address is the same as you have in your TFTP server. Now you're going to type in exactly the bin that you want, and if you do this incorrectly, you want to make sure you go back and just change this and make sure it is correct. You type it in exactly how it is in the TFTP server file, and then again, this is your bin is your image file, so bin equals image. You choose the letter 1, or choose the number 1, and then you press C for continue. And this will then go ahead and start the download of the bin file. Once it is completed, you're going to be back at this stage, and you're going to step through once again, only this time you're going to type in the con file, the .con file. And here you're going to choose the number 2 because you're going to download the content file. And once again you choose C to continue. Now you're going to go ahead and have your content file start to download. So as I mentioned earlier, if for some reason you have the software has been corrupted and the web browser is no longer functioning, this is where you would reload the content file. This is the only way and the best way to recuperate and get your product back online. So you can recover your software by reloading it through the serial interface. You are not able to do this through the web interface because this will be a situation where the web interface is not accessible. So now that it's downloaded both the bin file and the content file, you're going to again step through everything, making no changes, and this time when you get to the boot operation, you're going to choose the number 3, which is to run. In essence, this will reboot the system. And here you're going to again choose C for continue. This will restart the system, reboot it, and now you should be back up and running. So that's how you go ahead and take care of reloading or updating the firmware and software in an AireBridge system. Now the next thing that you can do is update or upgrade your AireBridge product. For instance, you purchased it with the standard 250 megabit full duplex capability, but you now realize that your network requires more bandwidth. If that's the case, you need to contact LightPoint or your salesperson or your value-added reseller and let them know you want to upgrade to either the next highest bandwidth, or maybe you want to add the HighBridge option, or maybe you want to do both. What that's going to do is allow us to understand which keys you're going to need. In other words, this is all software key, license key driven. So once we know which one you want to purchase, we'll go through the purchasing process. At the same time, you're going to provide me with the MAC address of the units that you want to upgrade. What we have done is we have associated the license keys with the MAC address. So you can't just use any generic license key. It has to be keyed specifically to the MAC address of your units. You can go ahead and find the MAC address in the LightPoint software. If you go to the System View, under System Information, you will find the MAC address. Once you've provided me with the MAC address of the units, I can go ahead and create the license keys. I will then send you the license keys along with some instructions, which are basically following exactly what we're doing here, and then you'll be able to upgrade your product to either the higher bandwidth, the HighBridge, or both. So again, the easiest way to do this is through a telnet session. So go ahead and open up a telnet session, and again, the default login is LightPoint, capital L, capital P, and I typed it here under section number 3. Then what you want to do is enter show license. So we're just going to start with making sure and seeing what we have today. And so you're going to get the show license will show your current license as it is. The next thing you're going to do is, with that license string, this will also tell you which MAC address you're logging into, and so you can confirm. Now, if you've made a typographical error and reported the incorrect MAC address, this will be the time to contact LightPoint and get the correct license key. So in Telnet, after you've done show license, you're now going to do set license. And part of what is going to be included when you get your license key is a feature string, and it's also listed as features. The features are going to be a set of 3 or 4 characters. They need to be capital letters, and they will be combined and used along with the license key to set appropriately. So as you can see under the third thing where it says your line should look like this, you're going to see that you've got the CIU set license, all capitals for the feature string, followed by the actual license. That's going to then be correct, and then you're going to go ahead and type in the words show license to make sure that it passed and shows correctly. Now, assuming you are not upgrading to HighBridge and you're just getting additional bandwidth, at this point you're going to go ahead and reboot the system by typing the words reboot, and you should be done. Now, once that is completed, if you also needed, or you also got the HighBridge functionality upgrade, then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to log back into Telnet, and you're now going to type in set config space 2 and press enter. And now you're going to reboot the system again. At this point, you will have now both set the license key and the configuration if you purchase the HighBridge option. Now, if you purchase the HighBridge option and the gigabit license initially, we will have taken care of all this for you at the factory, so there is no additional licensing you need to do. We will go ahead and basically configure it on the premises here at LightPoint prior to shipment. Now, if the reason that Telnet is the preferred way to do it is that you can do it remotely from anywhere on the network as long as you have access to the unit. Far more convenient, similar to doing the web update to the TFTP, is that you can do it from your desk and you don't have to be physically at the back of the unit. Now, for some reason that Telnet is not functioning for you or you're having issues, then you would need to go to the rear of the unit, once again using the serial cable with that serial to COM interface, and you would, again, using PuTTY, TerraTerm, Hyperterminal, whatever program you prefer, you would need to go ahead and do the license, setting the license this way. When you do it this way, you don't need to reset or reboot the unit. Once TerraTerm or PuTTY or Hyperterminal are connected, and you can press the Enter key a couple of times, you're going to see these two lines. For restoring factory defaults, use Restore. For setting new license key, use Set Lice. So if you should see those by pressing Enter. Now we're going to be resetting the license. So we're going to go ahead and type in Set LIC, short for license, at which time, similar to what we did with Telnet, instead of it being one long string, you do it in sections. So the first thing you're going to type in is the feature string in capital letters, and then you're going to enter the license key provided by LightPoint for the option that you've purchased. And again, you're going to press Enter. If at this point you also have purchased the AireBridge option, then you will also need to type in config2, all one word, no spaces here, and press Enter. The next thing you'll do is reboot the device by pressing the 3 carets and pressing Enter again. At this point, you will have gone ahead and reset the license on this specific unit. And again, if you had the AireBridge, then you will have done the correct configuration. So that's it. Those are the two different ways, two different upgrades that you can do, and two different ways to do each of the two different upgrades. If you have any questions, please contact sales@lightpoint.com. You can also contact tech support at lightpoint.com for more questions. For any questions you may have. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great day.